Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, women creating amazing marriages. So good to see you here tonight. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to get in the door. Please say hello, comment below. I love your interactions. That makes it so interesting for me. If I don't get a chance to answer it here, I will definitely comment below and respond to you. You can always message me privately too if you're that kind of woman. I respect that as well. But if you are a maven and if you are extrovert, comment, interact, like, share this with somebody, right? Because it's you, extroverted, enthusiastic women who make the world go round, all right? You're the ones who are going to make sure people know about things that are good and that are helping them. Okay, so we're here today to talk about what women really want, part 1 of 4. Are you too needy? Okay, today we're going to talk about needs, communication, how to handle all of that, right? Because there's so much heaviness around neediness. I have needs, I'm not happy, but am I being too needy? Is this like ick? Am I like repulsive with like my, I've always got a problem, right? Just sit with that for a moment. See where in your body you're feeling. Am I too needy? Okay. Now I'm gonna rescue you from the chaos for a minute, right? You're not too needy. Okay. You cannot be too needy because needs are needs. There's no such thing as having too many needs because needs are requirements. Okay. So one way people look at needy is like impossible to please, right? No matter what you get, you're never happy because there's always something else. It might feel like that inside your body sometimes. And that's what this series is for, is to drill down into what the true needs are. So you're not barking up the wrong tree. So you're not going, well, I do want this stuff and I desire that stuff. And do I just have infinite desires? And then I'm never going to be satisfied? No, probably not. That's a very immature way to go through life with, want, acquire. And I just don't think you're that kind of woman. The women who are drawn to me are very emotionally mature. They're like, hey, I see the big picture. I'm reasonable. I'm not demanding. I'm not entitled. I'm just gonna turn off this heater. I'm getting too warm. So that's not you. That's not you. So what's going on with this neediness thing? What is a problem? Okay. Is not knowing how to meet your own needs. So if you don't know what your needs are and you don't know how to responsibly meet your own needs, the ones that can be met by you, you're going to show up expecting your man to meet the needs that are actually yours to meet, right? That's the distinction we want to make. The needs that must be met in relationship and the needs that are yours to meet. Now, there's lots of overlap here, but we want to start understanding what our needs are and then how we can meet them ourselves. This is really important for a bunch of reasons, but I'll give you a couple. The first one is that when you know your own needs, you create a level of intimacy with yourself, right? Instead of being upset or angry, not knowing really what it is and just projecting that on people and blaming and criticizing and having a fit, you can go, oh, my need for alone time is not being met. My need for clarity is not being met. My need for affection is not being met. Okay, what is a way I can respond to this? How can I approach this true need in a way that is, going to fulfill me, is going to satisfy me? I'm going to be someone who respects myself, who honors myself, and who meets my own needs as often as possible. And there's a very interesting thing that happens when you meet your own needs. First of all, you get to feel what it's like to be a woman whose needs are met instead of a woman who's burnt out, overgiving, exhausted, resentful. And that is a very big shift in your body. Now you're a satisfied woman. Now you're like, oh yeah, that feels good. I'm like vibing in life. This is awesome. As opposed to clenched, pissed, repressed, I haven't had my needs met since ever kind of woman, right? So knowing your needs, meeting your own needs will shift you into a completely different energy. Also, it will wet your whistle for, you know what, I'd really love my man to meet these needs and I know how he can do it. I know how to share it. I don't feel desperate. It's like if you didn't know you had a need to eat food or you didn't know what kinds of food, and then every time your man was around eating a sandwich, you want to grab it out of his hands and be like, give me that, right? Because you're starving, you're desperate. But if you knew And you're like, I really need to eat, however many times an hour, a day, whatever. You'd be nibbling, you'd be having food. And when you saw him, you'd say, like, you know what, that looks really good. I'd like to have some. But it wouldn't be this desperate clinging, that needy energy that we all kind of hate. Like, women feel awful about their own neediness as much as we notice the repellent quality it has towards men. So why is neediness like true? Let's talk about what neediness is, right? Neediness is not having too many needs, because needs are not a problem. The problem is when people use the word neediness, they're talking about certain behaviors: nagging, begging, complaining, criticizing. Nagging, begging, complaining, and criticizing. Let's give some examples, okay? Nagging. How come we never do anything together anymore? Right? You never take me out. Why don't we ever do anything? Come on, why don't, and you're this drippy faucet. That's the nag, right? I just keep saying these things over and over again. They never happen. How come? Nag, 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 nag. Now, you have a legitimate need for quality time with this man. You have a legitimate need for attention and outings and affection and everything. But the way that's getting expressed is in a drip, 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 a nag. And nagging, it just never works. You hate nagging. Women hate nagging. When I used to be so triggered by that word, when I would say, oh, nagging woman, I thought, she's a pissed off woman whose needs are not being met. How dare you criticize her for nagging, right? And now, having come a long way from those days, I understand that nagging is it's a survival strategy that women use when they don't know how to express themselves effectively. And it does represent a lot of sadness, anger, longing, and resentment. So I have compassion for you if you're in the nagging trap. It's usually what women do who don't explode, they don't yell and scream. So they just kind of go with the steady beating drum of like, oh, come on, how come? I wish we would, right? Nagging never works. It doesn't feel good for you. You can tell it doesn't work, right? It becomes tuned out. The next one is begging, right? Please, can we do something? Oh my God, like I'm dying here, right? Or like, could we at least go here? Maybe just out for coffee. Like you start downgrading your desires in hopes that like he'll do it for you because it's like so little inconvenience. Maybe you even take care of most of it, so all he has to do is show up. Of course, none of that feels good, right? But begging is a turnoff. So nagging, turn off. Begging, turn off. We're talking about things that are repellent, things that make your man back up. And the thing is, they make you turned off too. So it's not like we're just talking about pleasing him. You don't feel good when you're doing any of those things. The next one is complaining. Complaining's like, we just talk about what's working, right? I hate this. I don't like that. I don't like this. How come this never happens, right? It's a whining negativity. Complaining usually, includes the nagging, the begging, the blaming, the judgments. Complaining is like, I would argue that complaining is the lowest form of communication. No, not the lowest. That's a bit much. I mean, yelling, screaming, attacking, that's pretty low. But in the realm of just like everyday communication, complaining is just, right? Like, let me give you an example. I hate it when you go to the restaurant and there's like a big lineup and then they don't, let you in time. And then they put you in that corner where it's like really drafty and it's super noisy and blah, blah. Like, it's just like, why are you sharing this with me? Why do I have to, you're dumping your negative energy on me with a complaint. Now, I'm not saying that people should not express what's going on with them, but how about this? Hey, oh, I would really love to share with you about what happened to me today. Okay, go ahead. Well, I was really excited to go to this restaurant. And then when we got there, we had to wait for 40 minutes and I was so hungry. I felt so disappointed. Oh my God, like same situation, same circumstance. But now this person is sharing vulnerably from their experience. They're not just rambling superficial criticisms about a place, which is such a turnoff. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, complaining is a turnoff. So we want to give up the complaining. It's really a mask for our true feelings, and it doesn't get us anything we need. It just doesn't work. Okay, and then the last is criticizing, which I talked about in my previous 4-part series, The Marriage Audit. Criticism is one of the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, according to the Gottman Institute, which means if you are regularly criticizing your partner, it will lead to divorce. This is not a maybe thing. This is a will thing. He predicts it with, I think, 95 or 98% accuracy that when criticism is present in the relationship doesn't last. So your needs are not being met, which is fine. It's not a problem that you have those needs and they're not being met, but it gets expressed as nagging, begging, complaining, and criticism, which is repellent, which feels like garbage for you and garbage for him. So if that doesn't work, right, expressing our needs in these ways, these covert ways, or these sideways ways, what do? How do we honor our true needs? Okay, so the first thing is we do is get in touch with what are they? What are your needs? Do you need affection? Do you need attention? Do you need quality time? Do you need your feelings to be considered? I mean, there's so many needs that are so real and legitimate in an intimate relationship. Do you need exercise? Do you need time with your friends? Not all of them have to be met by your husband. Knowing what your needs are that have nothing to do with your husband are critical. Something I just want to express right now is that one of the things I've really learned personally is that when your marriage becomes healthy, stable, good, connected, it doesn't mean you're always happy. Because you before could focus all your energy on this husband for not doing things right and how, if he was, you would be happy. But once things they reach an equilibrium, or they reach like a tipping point of like, there's not really drama, there's not crisis, then you get to face your own stuff. Then you actually get to look at, how am I not showing up for myself? How am I not living in certain ways that are in alignment with my dreams or my values? You can go through periods of sadness, dark night of the soul, grief. And to me, that's like a sign that your marriage is now a safe container for you to explore, as opposed to, what do they call that? Like the burning bridge. Like, I've got to do something about this marriage because it's not okay right now. But you're not always going to be happy. You're not always going to be up. And you're going to be able to spend a lot more time looking at what are my needs outside of my marriage. What are my needs that I want to be meeting, that I need, to accommodate and arrange for. Maybe you like talking to a therapist. Maybe you like talking to your sister or your mom a certain number of times a week. Girlfriends, exercise, sports, creative outlets. Like, all those needs really, really matter. They really matter. And you want to take those seriously and get them met. Comment below, what are some of your needs? And what are some of the needs that you can meet for yourself and that you do regularly, or you want to start meeting? So know what your true needs are. These are the things that if they are not met, you don't feel good. You cannot feel good when these are not met. Write them down. Okay. Next, I want you to accept that these are legitimate, true needs. That you're not a weak person. You're not needy. You're not a problem for having needs. Just be with them, especially the ones that you long to have met that have not been met. Don't tell yourself it's too painful. I'm just going to do a little jig in my head. I'm going to do some gymnastics, and I'm not going to have that need anymore. I'm just going to amputate that need. Amputation is trauma. Do not amputate your needs. Okay. They're all precious parts of you. Write them down, accept them, honor them, right? And then share them. Share them with people who are safe. Share them with people who will listen. Share them with your husband. Share your needs that have nothing to do with him. Share your needs that have to do with him. Treat them all like they matter without a doubt, okay? They all matter. Now, these are all things that very easy to say, not very easy to do in practice, especially if it hasn't been your habit, okay? One way you can deal with that and get on it right away is in my Happily Married Woman program. If you have trouble finding the link, just message me. That program will get you in the very first module into what are you doing for you? How can you be your own best friend? How can you be your own best lover? How can you be your own best cheerleader and supporter and fan? Because if you can't do it for you, it's very likely you will reject subconsciously and you will not be able to receive when someone else does it for you. Have you ever said to someone, wow, you're wonderful. Like you do so much for your kids and you're such a talented woman. And they're like, oh, no, I'm a mess. Like if you really knew, like, no, right? That person has blocked the love and support you've given them because they can't give it to themselves, because they don't feel worthy. Worthiness is something we're going to come back to over and over and over again, because it's absolutely critical to creating the love affair that you want and that you desire. So, are you too needy? No. Have you communicated your needs in less than optimal ways? Almost certainly. Okay, almost certainly. So, get back to basics, figure out what your needs are, write them down, honor them, and share them, and take responsibility for meeting your own needs in whatever way they need to be met. All right. So thank you for sharing this journey with me. I absolutely love meeting women like you, with you, chatting with you. Send me a message if you have any questions or thoughts or things that you would like trainings on. I love to respond directly to your questions in these videos. If you want to learn right away at your own pace, sign up for my Happily Married Woman program. It will just blow your mind. Like, you'll really be able to understand all the things that have confused you about your marriage up till now, all the things that confused you about your man up till now. There's a whole module on just men, right? Because they're different than us. Newsflash. And if you would like one-on-one coaching and you want that private attention from me, message me and we'll set up a free consultation. I can't wait to hear from you. Have a really good evening. Bye-bye.